step number 2 in that evolution business, you have to have a trait that has a genetic component. You have to have the source of variability, and this is what a mutation is, and then off you go. Does your version work better than the next individual's? That will determine how many copies of your genes are passed on, all that sort of stuff. Alright, so mutations. A mutation is a mistake in a DNA sequence. We've just seen a couple of ways where that can come from. So the question becomes, what forms do these mutations take? And here we have classical genetics. Genetics in terms of mutations in DNA sequences. This is the stuff our great-great-great-grandparents learned out on the prairie. This is classic